Hey, Steve Zook, welcome back to Pokesoo channel, the Guitar Letter System, or Reverb.com, wherever you've seen this. This is such a cool bass. The guy I got this from, they bought it directly from the factory. It's a Flea bass. It doesn't have the Flea on the headstock. Some of them are just like that. So I don't know if it was one that was maybe, tucked away in the factory corner somewhere, and maybe he stopped doing, his endorsement deal and they kept it in the factory. I don't really know. It's just I've seen some that have the Flea on there and some that don't. But if you've never owned a Modulus bass, they are incredible. I've been buying and selling guitars over 30 years. This is only the second one I've ever had. Most people just keep them. This is the receipt of, like I said, the receipt of the guy that bought it. And it kind of outlines the different things in there, and it says Flea bass neck, Flea bass body, yada 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 yada. But to me, I'm calling this intuitive engineering because I love wood, but there's something about this graphite aluminum neck that just makes all the notes sound so even. I've owned vintage basses. I've had a '53 Fender. I've had Olympic basses. I've had all kinds of basses, including vintage Fenders and everything else. And this is the most musical bass I've ever played in my life. Something about the really clear and resonant mid-range and mid-bass and bass and treble. It's not sales fluff. These are incredible instruments. It plays pretty good right now, but I mean, everybody's setup is very subjective. I don't think I'd do anything to this bass, but yeah, it's really a lot of bass. Like I said, I call it intuitive engineering. If you've never played a Modulus bass, there's something special about them, man. They'll surprise you because it's just so musical, and all the notes seem so even. I think that's one of the things, because I found myself, the last time I had a Modulus bass, which was a long time ago, like maybe 9 years ago, I started writing some really interesting stuff because the notes were so even. Every guitar or bass tends to pull out certain creative ideas out of you for different reasons, whether it's the kind of wood on the back or the tone of the instrument. And there's something about this Modulus bass. I started writing some really interesting stuff that just kind of came out easier with the bass because the tone of the bass and the playability and everything just kind of pulled it out of me. So yeah, I'm a big fan of these. I wish I could just keep this, but I can't. This probably could use another battery. I actually took the screws out in the back, and I've been trying to get this. I'm going to have to get something thin to pull that out. Probably could use a new battery. And by the way, the picks on Reverb actually shows some smudges there that I don't even see when I look at it like this. Probably the flash or something. I mean, the bass looks great. I see a couple little marks here. There's a mark there in the back and a mark there in the back. Probably some little thin scratches in the pick guard. I think there's some little kind of subtle marks on the back, But I mean, overall, it's not mint, but it's awful nice looking. And like I said, it's barely been played. There's tons of, but there's just so much. It's like if you could look at the waveform of a bass note, I think you'd find most basses are weak in a certain area of that waveform, whether it's a mid or the mid bass. But there's such an even envelope of sound, a certain, it's hard to explain this. There's a certain completeness, a resonant, a musicality of the tone of this that I've never heard from any other. It just has a clarity. I think that's what I'm trying to say is there's a clarity to this bass that is not metal sounding at all. It's a warm, almost like woody crystalline clarity to it I've never heard in any other bass. plays pretty darn good, man. I'm not saying, you know, you might want it set up how you like it. If I was going to keep this, I don't think I'd do hardly anything. But, you know, setup's very subjective. But, man, it sounds good. The tone of this Modulus bass almost makes every other bass sound kind of dull to me, or like they're missing something, like it's missing a certain mid-range, mid-bass frequency. And I think it has, and there's a lot of engineering that went into this, and a lot of engineering, I think it's a 2008, by the way, a lot of engineering that went into this that's not like nerdy engineering. It's like somebody really intuitive, you know, like Leo Fender or something, that what he designs is designed to make it more musical sounding, not just, you know, an ego fulfillment type thing. This is a very thought out design that makes the bass more musical, and the neck kind of looks cool too with the patterns on it like that. But yeah, I'm absolutely blown away by a good Modulus bass, and like with any brand, some seem to be better than others. But I've only had two in the last 30 years of playing, so you know that says something. Most people that have these try to hang on to them, and for good reason. They just sound amazing. I mean, Flea's a multimillionaire. He wouldn't have played the Modulus bass if he didn't really highly respect it and love it. So that kind of says it all right there. I'm really going to miss this bass. Maybe I'll get my act together and just keep at it. But I'm really going to miss it. But I bring a lot of guitar knowledge to the table when I talk about a musical instrument, because I've been playing since I was 7 or 8. I've been buying and selling guitars for 35 years at least. I've had a lot of instruments go through my hands. I know how to tell a guitar that has real magic and real mojo and real vibe. And like I said, I call this intuitive engineering. Whoever made this and designed this really knew what they were doing, and they didn't design it because it was cheap to make or because it was easy or anything like that. They designed it in a way to make it the most musical they could. So it's obvious to me whoever made this bass really studied the physics of you know, musical instruments and electronics and the way, you know, sound vibrates from part to part. And I wouldn't be surprised they had a doctorate in, you know, some type of engineering, musical engineering. I don't know if there even is such a thing, but yeah. Yeah, it just sounds incredible. Like a friend of mine came over the other day and played this bass and was just like, whoa, you know, he's got a lot of basses. And he's like, man, he goes, I've read about Modulus basses and seen them, but I never thought they'd sound that good. And I was like, I told you, man. But he's got so many basses, his wife would, you know. But the sound, I mean, it just, man, it's so musical and so defined. Jocko would love this bass, even though he would think he wouldn't. He would. it's hard to put this thing down. It just sounds so good. But yeah, I think that's the thing that I noticed on the last one that I had about 9 or 10 years ago, was just all the notes just seemed so even in terms of volume. It just made it more musical, as well as all the notes just seem to have a bloom, kind of a. It's like the note explodes, but it doesn't explode in a way that makes it less like mushy. It's like this, like the note kind of like takes on more definition as you hear it. It's very hard to explain stuff like this. God knows I try. But yeah, you play this bass and then you go play any other bass, it just sounds kind of dull. It sounds like it's missing something. It's kind of like playing a great acoustic guitar that really rings out compared to one that's kind of stiff and doesn't ring out, you know? It's the only way I can describe this. Yeah, really. Geddy Lee would love this bass. But yeah, I mean, Flea's one of the best guitar players. You know, Flea's one of the best bass players in the world, and he played a Flea bass for a long time. To be honest about it, he probably got a more lucrative offer from Fender, which is why he switched over to endorse their stuff. But he obviously loves this bass. I've talked to people that have seen, you know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers live, and every time they saw him, he was playing a Modulus bass. So, and like I said, you can look at the list here, and it says you know, Flea neck, Flea body. It's, you know, he kind of outlined all the parts on this, and this you know, came with it, and it's got the you know, it's got the picture here of the bass. It says Flea bass. This is an unbelievable bass, you know. It to me it's just, you know, collectible as hell. And you know, it's one of those few musical, it's hard to run a musical instrument company. To me, this is one of those instruments where they didn't design it because it was cheap to make or anything. You know, they spared no expense. Probably one of the reasons they went out of business and probably had to sell at some point, you know, because yeah, it's an incredible bass. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited about it. It's not every day you get one of these. I may not get another one of these for, you know, another 10 years. I don't know. I've only had two. I've only had two Modulus basses in the last 30 years of buying and selling guitars. And the guy I got this from, I bought some other guitars from, and everything was really cool. He said it was owned by his grandpa, and you know, his grandpa's going through some stuff, so they let it go. But man, the tone is just so musical. Anyway, I love this bass. It just, you know, the tone of the bass seems to inspire you to play interesting stuff, and it plays pretty damn good right now. Right now, the action's low, and like I said, I don't know what you know. You might even want to raise it up a little bit. I would play it as is for a while, let it kind of work into itself because it hasn't been played that much. But yeah, like I said, the top looks great. It's probably got, you probably could find some surface level scratches. I think I see some up here. You know, some of those little minor, you know, scratches in the paint. I don't see a ton of them, but I'd rather say you might find some than not. Like I can see a couple little white things right here. You might see some little minor scratches in the pick guard of the paint, but it looks great. I'd give it like a 9 minus, maybe an 8 plus. I don't know. It's a great looking bass. It's barely been played. It just sounds incredible. So I'm really going to miss this, but I really hope it goes to a good home, because I'm kind of sentimental about the stuff I deal, and I have a very small guitar business, and I don't carry anything in inventory unless I really, really love it, and that, you know, that's the truth. I have to really believe in what I carry and what I sell. So anyway, Flea bass sounds unbelievable, plays really nice. Like I said, everybody has a different preference setup. You might need to set it up, you might not. But even if you do, I don't think you're not going to have anything major done, because it's got tons of fret left, and it's really, I don't think it's been played that much. But yeah, this is really, really a nice looking bass, and like I said, I'm really going to miss it. All right, folks, take care. Like I said, here's the list of the, you know, the guy bought this brand new from the factory before I think they sold the company. I don't know how much after it, but you know, and then like I said, it's got I've got the screws in the bag too. I was going to change the battery, but the more I'm playing this, I don't really think it needs to be changed right now. As you can see here, here's one of the paperwork things that go with it. It says Flea bass. It says Flea bass on this piece of paper. But yeah, this is just an unbelievable bass. It's really hard for me to put it down. But yeah, if you've never played a Modulus bass, they are something special. I'm trying to think of an analogy in my head, but I'm having. And this is probably going to sound a little bit like sales BS, but it's like if you've ever played a really good. I had a couple Martins from the 30s, and they just sounded so resonant, like a wooden bell. And when I compared those to other guitars, it made the other ones sound kind of dull. That's what this reminds me of. But yeah, that preamp seems to be working okay. Might work. Might have a little more oomph with a new battery. I don't know. Anyway. Flea bass, 2008, sounds incredible. Really gonna miss it. It's got a case. The case is strong, but it's only got one latch that works. So I'll make sure and put something around the case to keep it nice and tight and closed. So the case ain't real great. It's got a few latches that don't work. It's only got one latch that works actually. So, but you don't buy something this rare and this high quality. I honestly don't think a bass can be made any better than this. And that may sound like sales BS, but I'm serious. I know musical instruments quite well. I've been doing this a long time, and I don't think you can get a better bass than a Modulus. I mean, I've had Olympic basses, and actually the Olympic basses were really cool, but they didn't have the tone of this. They sounded good. They looked really cool. They had usually really good wood and stuff, but the Modulus bass did not have the strong mids and mid bass of this one. All right, I rest my case. Take care, guys. Let's all stay positive. Ciao.